Trust? You expect trust after everything?
I've been honest, I deserve respect.
Respect? You lied. Own your actions.
I'm accountable, but you won't forgive.
Accountability means change, not excuses. You talk about respect, but you broke every promise. I made mistakes.
But I'm trying to make it right. Trying isn't enough.
Where's the accountability?
I own what I did. Can we please work through this together?
Why is breakfast taking so long? This is unacceptable.
Hannah, I'm so sorry. Let me handle this. Deborah.
Apologize? To the maid? You can't be serious, Liam.
She's part of this household and deserves respect. Apologize to Amber.
Have the help or do.
I have to do something. This waiting is driving me insane. He should have been here by now. I can't keep pacing like this forever.
Deborah stood in the center of the sprawling penthouse living room, her eyes wide, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and absolute disbelief. She looked at Liam, the man she had shared a bed with, a life with, and a future with, and demanded to know if this was a joke. But Liam wasn't laughing. His face was entirely calm. His voice was steady, and the words he spoke next felt like a sudden, violent shift in the room's gravity. He told her it was over. For years, packed into a single suitcase left by the door. Deborah's voice cracked as she gestured wildly toward the kitchen, asking if he was really ending 4 years because of a house girl. Liam really looked at her for the first time in months. He told her he was ending it after 4 years because they had stopped being real a long time ago, and that the girl in the kitchen had simply made him see it clearly. How does a man walk away from a multi-year empire of status, wealth, and marriage, all because of the quiet presence of a woman who was hired just to clean his floors? To understand the collapse of Deborah's world, you have to look at what happened exactly 7 days earlier, when a single knock on the door changed everything. For 8 months, Hannah was a ghost in Liam's massive estate. To Deborah, she was part of the architecture, an invisible entity that moved quietly across the marble floors, picked up the shattered designer clothes, and made sure the coffee was hot and exactly on time. Deborah didn't see a person when she looked at Hannah. She saw a servant who existed only to execute orders without error. And the moment an error happened, Deborah made sure the entire house felt her contempt. Just weeks prior, Deborah had snapped over a minor mistake, tossing her keys onto the counter and complaining that she had asked for sparkling water, not still. She told Hannah to pay attention, calling it a simple request, and grumbled to Liam that he needed to get someone more attentive because the girl made the same mistakes every week. Hannah didn't argue. She didn't defend herself, and she didn't look down in shame. She kept her back straight, her face entirely calm, and simply apologized, promising to get the water right away. Liam sat at the dining table, watching the exchange in silence. He felt a twinge of discomfort, a sudden weight in his chest, but like many times before, he chose safety over justice. He said nothing, and his silence became his permission. But Hannah was not empty. She was paying attention. While Deborah performed the role of a wealthy fiancée, obsessing over redecorating the East Wing and maintaining an expensive lifestyle, Hannah was doing something far more dangerous in a house built on superficiality. She was caring. Quietly, without a performance, and completely without complaint, she memorized the small details that made the people around her human. She knew how Liam looked when he hadn't slept. She knew that his mother, a proud and discerning woman who lived 4 hours away, had a specific fondness for a rare blend of ginger and lemongrass tea, a detail the older woman had mentioned only once, 18 months ago. Deborah had forgotten it within 5 minutes. Hannah had written it down. And then the phone rang. Liam's mother was arriving for a sudden, unexpected visit after a grueling 4-hour journey. Deborah saw it as an inconvenience, another audience member to impress, another critic to manage. But Hannah saw a tired, elderly mother who needed comfort. When the front door swung open that evening, the trap was officially set. Deborah was about to find out that in a house full of wealth, the most valuable currency is the one thing she couldn't buy: genuine attention. Liam's mother walked into the house, exhausted and stiff from the long trip. Before she could even sit down, Hannah was there, gently taking her bags and offering to help her unpack. The older woman smiled weakly, telling Hannah she didn't have to do all that and that she could manage. But Hannah insisted with a warm smile, knowing the physical toll a 4-hour journey takes. When asked how long she had been working there, Hannah replied that it had been 8 months, adding softly that they treated her well and that Liam was a good man. But Hannah hadn't just prepared a room. She had spent hours preparing a special pepper soup using her mother's traditional recipe, knowing it was the perfect remedy for tiredness after a long journey. The older woman thanked her deeply, sensing a rare warmth in the house. Later that evening, the family gathered in the dining room. Deborah immediately dominated the conversation, entirely focused on herself and her superficial desires. She eagerly brought up her plans for redecorating the East Wing, dismissively mentioning that while Liam thought it was completely unnecessary, she believed the entire color scheme was outdated. Liam's mother listened politely, but noted with a tinge of nostalgia that the wing held so much history. The superficial chatter was cut short when Hannah entered the room, carrying a steaming bowl of pepper soup. The rich aroma instantly filled the air. Liam's mother looked up, her eyes lighting up as she smelt it, remarking that it was absolutely wonderful. Hannah set it down gently and revealed that she had added a little extra ginger, remembering that the older woman had mentioned liking it that way during her last visit. Liam's mother stared at her in shock. She asked if Hannah truly remembered that, given it was a passing remark made a year and a half ago. Hannah simply smiled and said that because it was mentioned once, she had written it down. The older woman looked down at the soup, deeply moved, and whispered to herself that the girl had actually remembered. The true contrast between the two women solidified at midnight. Unable to sleep due to her aching bones, Liam's mother wandered down into the quiet kitchen. Hannah was already there, cleaning up. Seeing the older woman, Hannah immediately asked if she was all right or if she needed anything. When the mother asked if she could have some of the special tea from her last visit, the one with ginger and lemongrass, Hannah smiled, told her to sit down, and promised it would take only 5 minutes. As the tea brewed, they talked. Liam's mother asked about Hannah's family, and Hannah shared that her father was doing much better, thanking her for asking. She admitted that she sent money home every single month because her family needed it far more than she did. Touched by her selflessness, Liam's mother reached out, telling Hannah that she was a truly good girl and that she wanted her to know her efforts were seen. She remarked that some people walk into a house and make it warmer just by being in it, while others walk in and leave it exactly as cold as it was. The next morning, the storm broke. Liam's mother sat down with him for breakfast, noting that she had slept wonderfully because Hannah had made her ginger and lemongrass tea at midnight, remembering a preference from 18 months ago. Liam smiled, commenting that Hannah was indeed very attentive. But his mother stopped him, clarifying that she wasn't just talking about the tea. She pointed out that Hannah knew how to make her comfortable, not because it was a checklist for a job, but because she actually cared enough to pay attention. Then she delivered the striking blow. She brought up Deborah, noting that despite being in Liam's life for 4 long years, Deborah had not once asked how her journey was during dinner the night before. Instead, Deborah could only talk about redecorating walls. She looked her son in the eye and told him that while he was a grown man, she had raised him to pay attention to what people show him, not what they tell him. Hannah had been showing him genuine decency every single day for 8 months, and the real question was whether Liam had been paying attention at all. Her words echoed heavily in Liam's mind. Later that day, he met up with his close friend, Daniel, his thoughts completely consumed by what his mother had said. He asked Daniel if he had ever been around someone so consistently decent that it just quietly undid him. He explained how Hannah took care of everyone in the house, even the people who treated her like she was completely invisible, doing it all without complaint or a desire for a performance. Liam then confessed the heavy guilt he had been carrying. He told Daniel about the incident the week prior, where Deborah had spoken to Hannah like she was absolutely nothing in front of him. Hannah had walked out of the room with her back straight and her face calm, never saying a single word. Liam admitted that he had sat there and said nothing, and he hadn't been able to forgive himself for his silence since. Daniel looked at his friend's tormented expression and remarked quietly that Liam was in deep trouble. Liam could only agree. This realization led directly back to the shattering confrontation in the penthouse. Liam returned home early, telling Deborah they needed to talk. He looked at her and laid out the painful truth. Over the course of their 4 years together, they had stopped actually seeing each other. He had stopped being present, and she had become entirely consumed by a superficial performance rather than a real relationship. When Deborah angrily asked if this sudden existential crisis was about the house help, Liam corrected her fiercely. He told her it was about the fact that he had watched her speak to another human being like she was nothing, and his own silence told him everything he needed to know about the person he had become by staying in that relationship. Deborah sneered, accusing his mother of putting those thoughts into his head and warning him that he would feel incredibly foolish when his life fell apart. But Liam was resolute. He told her his mother simply saw people clearly, something he used to do before he stopped paying attention. He watched her pack her things and leave, the door clicking shut on a 4-year illusion. The house was incredibly quiet when Hannah walked into the room later that afternoon. Liam looked up and told her that his mother had called that morning, specifically asking about her and stating that Hannah's pepper soup was the best she had experienced in 20 years. Hannah smiled modestly, saying that his mother was very kind, but Liam corrected her, noting that his mother was actually very honest, and there was a major difference. Liam took a deep breath, stepping forward to close the distance between his old life and his new one. He told Hannah that he needed her to hear him properly. For 8 months, she had shown more genuine care for the people in that house than anyone else in his life had shown in years. He admitted that he should have stood up for her a long time ago when she was spoken to harshly, and he sincerely apologized for his silence. Hannah looked at him, her calm exterior softening. She told him that he didn't have to apologize for other people's actions. But Liam shook his head, clarifying that he wasn't apologizing for Deborah. He was apologizing for his own silence because there was a profound difference. Hannah smiled gently, telling him that his mother was right about him, but that he simply forgot sometimes. When Liam asked what it was he forgot, Hannah replied softly, to pay attention to what is actually in front of him. Liam looked at the woman who had quietly transformed his entire perspective on life. He took a bold, definitive step forward, asking if he could take her out to dinner, not as her employer, but simply as a person who genuinely wanted to know who she was outside of the walls of his house. Hannah paused, realizing the gravity of the shift, and noted that it was a very big step. Liam nodded, telling her she didn't have to give him an answer right away. Hannah looked at him, the quiet warmth in her eyes finally matching the warmth she had brought into his home, and gave him her answer with a simple, playful smile, telling him that she really liked Italian food. Thank you for watching. If this story reminded you to always pay attention to the people who quietly bring light into your life, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep, cinematic stories. Drop a comment below letting me know your thoughts on Liam's choice, and I will see you in the next video.